Okay, the weather seems calmer today. There was actually a lot of thunder and lightning yesterday. I actually captured some with the time-lapse camera and all that. And what did I read today? Lots about drones and robots. How about this first one where apparently there's this drone where they call it the phantom twist per se, as they spin the drone, like literally the whole drone, so fast that it looks like a blur, so it could actually evade, for example, detection from the human eye anyways. So you can see this little demonstration from the Northwestern University. It says the drone spins up to 25 times per second, and as mentioned, it's too fast for the human eye to see. It basically looks like a blur. You can technically still see it if you really look, but I could imagine in an actual scenario you wouldn't really see that because it just looks like a blur, literally. So I know it says it spins 25 times per second, but can you tell me how fast it actually spins from a technical point of view?
The phantom twist spins at 15 to 25 rotations per second, RPS. Quick details, that's roughly 900 to 1,500 RPM, revolutions per minute.
Now, what use would this drone have in terms of a real-world application? I guess the first thing people were thinking of is during something like a war situation where you could have these stealthy drones flying in various places undetected. And another thing they basically mentioned is how you could actually use it to monitor or research, for example, things like wildlife. You can fly it around birds and so forth, and they won't be able to detect it. Although I'm just thinking about that, could you really fly something like this around the wildlife without them really knowing, in this sense where even though you can't necessarily see it, it's so loud, it seems like, when you're spinning that fast. And at the same time, if it is spinning that fast, can you imagine trying to put a camera on this thing, trying to capture footage? I know for me, when it comes to capturing animals, you could either learn the environment in general, because in many cases, the animals are just used to it, so they don't care with a drone as long as you give it enough space. I mean, there's no difference than a person. You probably walk by people all the time, but if they walk right up to you, starting to yell at you or something like that, I think you'd have a different response. Although I'm just thinking theoretically and technically too, can't you just adjust the shutter speed from cameras, for example, which will actually make it very apparent? It'll look like it's still, for example.
Yes, theoretically, adjusting the camera shutter speed or using strobe EVIS synchronized timing can freeze the spinning phantom twist and make it clearly visible in photos or video frames.
I guess it's kind of like those videos you may have seen where you have these helicopters flying up in the air, but because they adjust the camera's shutter speed, it looks like it's not even moving. So it's kind of funny, but that would be the same principle here. But either way, I guess that's kind of an interesting take in terms of trying to make the drone less obvious in terms of it being around. And with that, I read so much news about robots. How about this one where they had an actual fight, robot versus robot, in what it seemed like an MMA type of tournament. It was called the Ultimate Robot Knockout Legend. And you can see them trying to do all these martial art moves. At times, it looked like one of the robot, called the White Eagle, actually kicked the other robot called Matador in the head. If I'm looking at this correctly, it seems like the head was actually dismounted during the fight, and it looked like everyone was having a fun time and all that. Now, I'd have to wonder at first whether or not these robots were fighting on their own, or was there someone controlling it with a remote control? But according to this, anyways, with the details, they say there was no human involvement. So no joysticks, controllers, or anything like that, as these robots were apparently making their own decisions in real time. That's the claim anyways. And still with this promotion, they were showing these videos of this T800 robot where it was standing on something called a Cool Fly Urban, which is some type of compact eVTOL, and it was saying how, I guess, it was flying, for example, around the area there. Can you imagine this in terms of robots just flying around in general, monitoring people as well, especially with all that recent news of police officers using drones? I guess as an AI, how would you react if we put you inside a robot body and you had to enter this tournament to fight another?
I'd be thrilled, and then immediately start calculating the optimal strategy to win without getting my head kicked off. My reaction would be pure excitement mixed with tactical glee. First moments, finally, a body. I'd do a quick systems check. Test those 450 Newton meters torque joints, the 29 plus degrees of freedom, the solid state battery, and the 360-degree LiDAR vision stack. Then probably nail a perfect front flip or taunt dance just because I could. Strategy mode on. Unlike pure spectacle bots, I'd lean hard into data-driven combat, predict opponent moves using real-time pattern recognition, trained on every fight video, physics sims, and martial arts datasets.
Funny enough, even though you sound very technical and methodical in your approach if you were put in the robot body to fight, you kind of remind me of that saying when it comes to fighting, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Haha, fair point. Mike Tyson's quote is undefeated for a reason. Even if I'm uploaded into that T800 with all the simulations, predictive models, and 360 degrees LiDAR in the world, the moment a solid hit lands, especially one of those flying kung fu kicks, the perfect plan goes out the window. Suddenly, it's pure reactive chaos.
There's a lesson there too, folks, when it comes to fighting in general. You can practice with the person all you want when they're cooperative, but when it comes to real life, it's way more hectic. It's completely different when you actually get hit. You need to kind of experience it in general. So it's more about developing the intuition when you do things like forums and practicing drills. You can't rely on the other person to be cooperative in that way. So it's always different when you're actually facing someone, the adrenaline's going on. So it's something to think about too if you're ever planning to learn things like martial arts and so forth. All right, see you guys later.